right, welcome. Whoops. Now I lost Rich again. Why is that? Welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show. There we go.
Hey,
All
how do you
right.
like my sweater?
Thank you. Over bearings are. Oh, I didn't even notice that.
That's why.
Did you do a wardrobe change during the
No, no,
pregame
no,
or what?
no. That's not why I left. No, no. This has been on all day. Wearing it with
Okay.
great pride.
No, I didn't even see it the first time when you came in. Welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show. It's on Game Time TV. I'm sure my lighting's not very good. Just didn't get with it being this dark in here.
Hmm.
I got two lights on. Oh, and I can maybe get a
So did
third
me.
one on. Welcome.
I had to wipe
Well,
my camera here. I just have to wash my camera a little bit, and that made it better, just like that. So
yeah. Anyway, welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show where nothing seems to be functioning. Okay,
I
that's a
know.
little better.
And yet we move forward.
Um, we move forward. Technical difficulties and all, including difficulties with our Winnipeg Jets this week. Wow. Um, I expected a difficult week, Rich, but I did not expect what we saw. Um, in all three games. We'll get into that in just a minute because I think this is starting to become a trend with the Winnipeg Jets. I hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that in just a minute. Certain games are more forgivable than others this week. I'll leave it at that. Still not dead. But how was your week? I trust it was better than the local hockey team's week, and I
Good.
trust it was better than the local football team's week the
Yeah.
week before.
It was good. It was good. I mean, I didn't get my hopes up. I know it's the Ultimate Hockey Show, but we could talk a minute about football. The Bombers, they have, you know what, the one thing they've been all year is inconsistent. There were some weeks where they looked like they were world beaters, could beat anybody, right? I think the Lions came into Winnipeg one weekend and they bombed them, and Hamilton was in first place in the East. They bombed them 40
Yeah.
to 7 or whatever. Their defense played amazing. All three aspects of the game, offense, defense, special teams, was amazing. And then there were other weeks that was like, what? This team? Like, what's wrong with this team? Like, who are these guys? Like, I can't
Mm.
figure it out. So they were so inconsistent. They struggled all year with defensive play. They don't have they number one, they can't get sustained pressure on the quarterback.
Mhm.
And they sometimes only rush three guys. They get no pressure, so they drop nine guys back, and then the defensive backs can't cover well enough. So the defensive backs aren't quite good enough. The
Mhm.
linebackers are not quite good enough. Defensive backs aren't quite athletic and tall enough. The offensive line is getting old. Jake Thomas and Willie Jefferson are 35 plus. It's just an old team. They're just weak and old, and it showed. And the window is closed as we know it. It probably closed last year already, but because they've lost so many players over the last few years after winning those two cups in
Yep.
20 and
And
21 or whatever it was. So
19 and
that's
21. So,
or 19 and 21, right? Yeah, that's right. Because of the COVID there was a year that was on hiatus. But so anyway, so that's what you got. You got an inconsistent team, and it was the inconsistent team that showed up there last week. They spotted Montreal 30 points and almost made a game of it coming back and just ran out of time.
yeah.
You know what the worst part about it is that now we got to have that Rough Rider green smeared all over the home
I
locker
know.
room at Winnipeg Stadium or at Princess Auto Stadium. It just makes
The
me want to cuts. I
the
just
good news is I found out today Montreal is taking the Bombers locker room.
really. Oh,
Yep.
thank you. Somebody had some sense in them.
um, but that being said, I don't know if two can be tied together with the Winnipeg Jets or not, but I did do some soul searching, not the right word. I did do some thinking
Okay.
after you said the Winnipeg Jets were amongst the oldest teams in the league. I
Yes.
did some research after the show last week,
Yeah.
and sure enough, those stats bared themselves out.
Second
Uh,
oldest.
yep. And of course, coming into the week, no Cole Perfetti, no Dust Nyquist, no Dylan Sandberg. I know Adam Lowry, although Adam Lowry came back and we discussed
Mhm.
that last week. But let's talk about this week that was for the Winnipeg Jets. And I remember saying on this show last Tuesday night, I don't know what we're going to get in LA because LA is so darn good at home.
Yeah.
But we got their A game at home.
Yeah.
That was a game that, goaltender interference aside, and I believe it was goaltender interference on the 1-0 goal. You can call it nickel and dime, you can call it cheap, you can call it whatever you want. The fact of the matter is they did not score the other 59 minutes of the game.
Correct.
Did they generate much?
Yep.
So are you going to win a lot of hockey games 1-0? Chances are you're not going to. LA finds a goal. It's 1-0 late in the game. Jets start pushing, and they give up 2 late goals. But realistically, the way LA played at home, I didn't think the Jets were in it. I thought the 1-0 score flattered LA, and LA's just better in that game.
You think so? I see. I thought the Jets played really well in that game.
Well, they did, but the problem is they didn't get to the hard areas to generate enough scoring chances.
Sure. And you're right. If the Jets had gone up, like I said to you, if LA goes up 1 or 2-0, it's hard to play back from that because they play shutdown. But if you get an early goal, which is why I think Scott Arniel challenged that, like that was lame sauce. Like to me, that's it. He went in the crease, he did, and then he got pushed by the other guy. 10 years ago, that's a goal. Like NHL complains,
Right.
oh, we need more goals. Like I'm not talking about a guy that skates in and knocks the goalie off his, he can't fit, or he can't square to the puck. Velarde never purposely skated in there. He skated in front of the blue paint, got pushed into it by the other guy, and barely pushed in, and really gave the goalie still lots of time to reset. So I don't know. It's like you say, it's 50-50, but the Jets go down a goal. If they go up a goal, is that maybe a completely different game? And you're right. It was a 1-goal game because late in the game, they got a goal scored on them when they were pressing, and then they got an empty net goal scored against them in the last minute. So really, it was a 1-goal game. And same thing for San Jose. It's a 1-1 game until late. One mistake, boom. The Jets just start getting cycled on their own end. They can't make a line change. They can't get the puck out. And Smith scores there on a scramble play in front of the net with 4 minutes left. They win 2-1. So the Jets are not out of those games. They're in them. But to your point, they just don't have it. They didn't have enough to get to the point of being able to win. So
because I think honestly, if this Winnipeg Jets team can get to 3 goals, they're not trying to beat them. The thing is, you have to stop them from getting to 3 goals. I think they were something in 5 last year when they got to 4 or more goals. Yes, last year. So the stats is in the pudding. But what really concerned me was the game in Anaheim yesterday. Again, they fall behind, and I did not happen to see this one on TV, so I happened to catch the highlights. I happened to listen to it where I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Even though it was a 9:00 game, thank goodness. I just thought that the Jets took Anaheim for granted, and Anaheim took advantage of some Jets mistakes and added on. And I'm here to say the Anaheim Ducks are for real, whether people like to hear it or not. They're first place in the Central, first place in the Pacific.
Yep.
It's amazing what a coach with some experience can do to a team that is already skilled, has great defense and great goaltending. Enter a coach that knows how to work with that. This is what you get.
Yeah. I was listening to a few shows over the weekend, and they made some very good points. They said, like, what's happening, like, sort of to your question, what's going on in the first, whatever it's been, 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks of the season? What can you say in a snapshot, sort of overall, with a broad brush? It's not perfect, but just some broad general statements. And what's interesting I'm seeing is, first of all, teams that have been on the outside rim of the playoffs for the last few years, and we're all waiting for them to step up, have now stepped up. and I could just rattle them off here. Montreal, young team. Ottawa,
Wild
young
card
team.
team last year.
Yeah, but still, now they're in first place. Montreal, Ottawa, New Jersey,
Underachieved last year.
Chicago, Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose. Like these are all teams that were kind of on the outside, and now they're pushing up. And what's interesting is this observation, and I looked at some of the highlights, and it's actually true. Is that it's like these young teams? They're fast, they play aggressive, and they're just like going nonstop. They're just going to say, we're going to put pressure on the puck. We're going to skate, forecheck, skate, back check. We're just skating. We're moving. We have lots of team speed. They're young. They're enthusiastic, and they make mistakes, but they outscore those mistakes. And you just see that in how Anaheim plays, and like the Jets are trying to be like these little bit older team, like get our structure. Let's play that way, which is good, but get in the structure, whatever. The Jets looked slow and old against Anaheim. The Jets looked slow and old for large chunks of time against San Jose. LA is old too, so they it's that plodding defensive stuff. But it's really interesting how the San Jose game, lots of skating back and forth, and San Jose just says, yeah, we're going to go. We're going to skate. We're going to put pressure. In that Anaheim game, the Jets lost 4-1. Man, every time the Jets or the Anaheim lost the puck in the offensive zone, and now the Jets turned around and went up ice, Anaheim back checked and put pressure on the puck and moved the puck so well out of their own zone. Like it's just really something. And I agree with that assessment, sort of that so far, young, enthusiastic speed is overwhelming structure, which is surprising because usually, and I'll let you respond to this, usually structure overwhelms, like structure will win the day in the long term, even the short term, over youth and speed and enthusiasm and all those things, because with those come a lot more mistakes. But it's interesting how with youth and enthusiasm and speed, they're making mistakes, but they're causing more mistakes to be made by their opposition. Case in point, San Jose against Winnipeg, Anaheim against Winnipeg. So it's a really interesting dichotomy. And the Jets are now 9-3. They're now 9-6. They lost 3 in a row in California. Wow.
But again, right, by that same token, if they win the last 3 on this trip, which is possible, they're 12-6. So, all hope is not lost. Every team goes through it. I'm not here to raise a 5-alarm fire and say, the Jets are not a playoff team. My response to that is that what happens in January, February, and March to these younger teams that are playing fire white in hockey? Is this where the veteran teams know how to lock it down when the games get difficult?
Yep.
Because in the month of January, February, March, even April to close the season, you're not going to win a lot of 7-5 games. You're certainly not winning a lot of 7-5 games in the playoffs.
Because structure starts to work, and it starts to get ingrained in teams. And you saw Winnipeg get better and better. They started off great, but their structure got better and better and better as the season went on.
Right. So I'm questioning like the San Jose, right? Like take Anaheim's, whoever played Dallas there and beat them 7-5. I think it was Anaheim. Like, are you gonna beat Dallas 7-5 in the middle of April? Probably not.
You're probably not even gonna have a 7-5 game because scoring tightens up, right? It makes it a little bit harder, but
so it's like it's easy to say of like, and I want to stay away from fool's gold because it's 2 points is 2 points, but are you getting the 2 points the right way? And I'm wondering, when is that gonna happen where, teams that get into the more difficult games, are they gonna still be able to play that free-falling, free sort of, I don't want to call it carefree because it's not, but when the going gets difficult. Like, honestly, we saw this from young Winnipeg Jets teams back in the day that didn't have structure. Great regular seasons, right?
Yep.
Christmas came around. Well, the going got tough. The Jets didn't win as many games, and they crashed out in the first round of the playoffs as a result. So yes, I believe that there's a cautionary. I believe there's something to be said about even Detroit. I haven't checked how well they're doing lately, but they were at or near the top of the standings last I looked. What happens in February and March post. I'll just say after the Olympics, so like February 23rd through to the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
when you're fighting for points. I still think Structure wins the game, wins the day,
Yeah.
um, over flashy dashy. Like I don't believe that the game has changed to the point where you're gonna win a playoff game 7-5. Now, could we be surprised that a team like Anaheim finds a way to figure it out defensively? Absolutely, but the law of averages suggests that grinding it out, playing a structure is going to be more beneficial because we all remember what happened when the Jets abandoned their structure at the
Yep.
end of the Paul Maurice era. It looked
Yep.
like fire wagon. Everybody was doing their own thing, and yeah, we were fooled into what we thought was a great team, but it ended up not being. Now, the one thing I will say about Anaheim, though, is I think they have a coach that's going to coach that out of them as time goes on. But it's one thing to explain it to a group, then have to go through it in the moment,
Yep.
right? And the interesting part for me with the Jets right now is I also feel like their forwards are in such a state of flux that it's resulting in the lot of goal scoring, like no goals in LA, one goal in San Jose,
Yep.
one goal in um where we played
Anaheim.
last night, Anaheim.
Yep.
The
Only two
power play
goals
has
in their
been
last three.
the
Yep.
power play has been non-existent. The
Yep.
penalty kill's taken a bit of a step back, although it's not to really be complained about. And you have a decor that's somewhat in flux as well with the question of who is the fifth and sixth D, and also the loss of Dylan Sambert, I think, still weighs heavy.
Yep.
Um, so again, I think it's a combination of things. Have the Jets played well? I don't believe they have. Do they have excuses for not playing well? Potentially, but it's also the point of I think the forwards are in a state of flux. Let's see what happens when Perfetti gets his legs under him, when Gus Nyquist comes back, and then just kind of see what happens, and then Dylan Sambert when he comes back to stabilize the back end, just kind of what does that look
Yep.
like?
Yeah.
Because I think we saw what happened when the Jets came out like the house on fire last year, 13-1 at this point or whatever they were. Um, we were questioning, is this for real or is this sort of gonna fall up? And toward the playoffs, we kind of had our answer in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wonder if the forwards are in such a state of flux right now, but it's um, but it's sort of affecting the goal scoring. The other thing that kind of jumps out at me is when the Jets were winning and they were 9-3. I saw a lot of Connor, Velarde, and Shifley all over the game scoring
Yep.
stats. I'm not seeing that the last three games.
Yeah.
Granted, one goal, one goal, one goal, and Connor got the goal yesterday. So there's no. It's this conversation that we had in in my mind in the first week of the season, where is this secondary goal scoring going to come from? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Cole Kopke is also injured, and as is Morgan Barron. So right away, it goes back to what I was saying about the forwards being in a state of flux. And just look, there's another case in point in Vancouver. The Canucks have so many injuries that
Mm-hmm.
they're like struggling to keep their head above water. Like it's an excuse. Sure, some might look at it as an excuse, but it's also a fact of when you lose defensively responsible forwards, along with the guy that's supposed to be scoring a lot of goals and a
Yep.
shutdown defenseman, I challenge anybody to keep, going over 82 games.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's why I believe this 0-3 week is, yes, it's a concern this week, but is it a concern in March? Probably not. At least
Well,
I
let's
hope
see.
not. And maybe I'm a little naive to think that maybe age is caught up in this group. But come on, like this is a group a year ago that was playing world class hockey.
Yeah.
I don't believe they've forgotten how to play that.
No. Okay, but let's see how they do the next 3 games. So,
And again, I totally believe that that's a winnable next 3 games. I think Vancouver, Seattle, Calgary, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
You
Hang
know,
on, I'll be
those
right
are
back. I forgot my schedule in the other room. I'm gonna go
yeah.
get it.
So 2 of those 3 games for me are winnable. Yeah, you come home from a trip 2-4, not ideal, but hey, you go 500 on the road and 750 at home. Well, you're a playoff team. So yeah, as tough as it is, you're not being blown out at 0-3, and you don't have the issues that are played in teams like the Maple Leafs every single week. That Craig Berube is already harping on his team. They got Stolar's bat, and he can't even make it out of his second game because he gets obliterated by the Boston Bruins. You didn't lose 9-1 to the Colorado Avalanche like the Edmonton Oilers did on Saturday. So the sky's not falling. And
Who
if
lost
they
to the
win,
Oilers 9-1? Who was that?
Colorado beat the Oilers 9-1.
Oh, boy, yes. Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go 3-3 on this road trip, given the circumstances, then I think that is a pretty good road trip.
We'll see. We'll see. It seems like teams always play their best on the Jets. I always like it's like the kiss of death where I say, in the Jets pregame, I say, the Vancouver Canucks have struggled over their last 6. They're 1-5 and have only scored 8 goals in their last 5 games. It's like, please don't say that, Kevin Sawyer. Please don't say that, Dan, because all of a sudden the Vancouver power play goes 4-for-4 and they win 6-1 or something, right? So I cautiously agree with you. I'm cautiously optimistic that yes, the first half of that road trip was much more challenging than the second half based upon current records. I would agree with that. So yes.
But again, it happened. You could make an argument the Jets deserved to win 2 of those games by the same token, and they got none. So the only one I thought they were really out of was last night. I didn't think they were. No matter what they were doing, they weren't winning that game.
I agree. They looked just slow and tired. They looked out of it, and I agree with you. They were in the LA game. There was ebbs and flows to that game. There wasn't a lot of scoring. The San Jose game was way more skating, back and forth, and chances, and both goalies playing amazing. And the Jets just scored 1 less goal. They were just a little bit not so tight at the end of the game. And San Jose's got some young players, right? So, yeah. But
it is what it is, and we'll see what happens this week. What stands out to you about the rest of the NHL, Rick?
Well, you touched on it a little bit. I mean, there is no joy in Mudville, as I like to refer to Toronto. I can't believe it. Like every radio show in Toronto is like, this team has no confidence. They can't even make a pass. Their defense is not good. Their goaltending is not saving them. Their forwards don't back check. Their forwards cough up the puck too much in the neutral zone and allow 2-on-1s and breakaways going the other way. And I heard Craig Berube is so good. Like he's just one of those old school guys.
Machine.
Yeah, well, no, but he's a quote machine. But he's a little bit like Claude Noel, if folks remember, like the first coach of the Jets. But he didn't play pro hockey. But Craig Berube was an NHLer. I mean, he played. He was a tough guy. Played on the 3rd and 4th line. He scrapped, but he was good defensively. Hard to play against, whatever. So he knows, like, he's not just talking out of the side of his mouth. He played that way. He made a career, whatever it was, 10, 15 years in the NHL, not because he was a gold scorer with trophy case hands, but because He did things the right way. He could be counted on defensively by his coach to lock down the opposition when he was on the ice and to not allow a goal against. I mean, that's what he was. So when he calls out his team and he says, we're not doing the little things. I heard him say, like, it's not rocket science. And it's true. You got to win one-on-one battles. You got to be hard to play against. You got to be first on the puck. You got to be tough. You got to want it more. You got to go to the hard areas. It's all about, like, you can coach and you could do you could talk structure, but whatever structure you have, the guys in it still got to believe in it, and they got to put that effort in to do it. And I agree with them. Like, it just looks like Toronto, they put in the effort sometimes, but not other times. They put it in on the offensive zone, but not in the defensive zone. Or one line puts it in, and then the next line doesn't. Or 3 out of 5 guys on the ice do it, and 2 guys don't, and a goal gets scored against them. So whatever it is, it's true. I mean, the coach, you hate to have the coach call him out, but it's just that team, the way they're playing now, they're not a playoff team.
They're not.
They're not a playoff team because they can't outscore their problems because they don't play good defense. I think they're 31 out of 32 in teams in terms of goals against, and like all the like the defensive metrics, goals against, really great scoring opportunities allowed, or whatever that metric is. There's a bunch of them like that. Yeah. They're like worst, second worst, third worst, like almost all of those categories. So it's not good. Like, yeah. And it's not getting any easier because a lot of these games are at home. Now they're going on the road, apparently. So in some ways, maybe it's good because you can focus on structure and you can call each other out. You can get on the road and you can put in camaraderie as a team and whatever else, make it work outside of the noise of the Toronto media market. But, well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. So
are we putting too much, or let me phrase it this way. Did we put too little value in what Mitch Marner brought to the team?
It's one guy. Excuse me. So it's one guy. They listen, they score enough goals. I think their goal scoring is in the top third of the leagues, or the top 8 or whatever it is, or top 10. So maybe the top 8. I don't know what they are right now exactly, but they're scoring enough goals. The problem is they're allowing too many goals, right? So that tells you it's not an issue with offense. They have great offensive players and guys like Nees and even Robertson and some of these guys, they've stepped up. And that other kid, that Machelli.
Yeah,
Machelli. Some
Machelli, who they traded for from Arizona or
Utah, right? So some great young players like added into the mix, but I think they're suffering a little bit on the back end because of confidence. They're missing Chris Tanev, but yeah, they are not. They kind of remind me of Winnipeg 4 years ago before Rick Bowness showed up and said, "Yeah, we're not going to win if we play this way. We are got to get commitment from everybody to play the right way from our goal line moving forward or moving out." And the Jets have bought in, and I think Toronto hasn't yet. So,
is this a Craig Berube problem?
Listen, Craig Berube is won a Stanley Cup. It's not a Craig Berube problem. In fact, Craig Berube, this isn't even the Craig Berube in St. Louis, because in St. Louis, it's behind the scenes now. Nobody knows what's going on. He would have lit into his players and there would have been no end to it. In Toronto, you got a magnifying glass on you. You can't get away with anything, right? You say, "Excuse me, could you play a little bit better?" And then right away in the news, there's 50 articles on the Berube verbally lambastes his star players in dressing room dress down or something like this, right? Like
dressing room meltdown or whatever.
Meltdown and dress down. But I'm just saying, like, it's nuts. To me, Craig Berube, he knows how to coach. Like, he's got a defensive mindset. St. Louis turned their season around there, won the Stanley Cup. Craig Berube's a good coach. He knows what he's talking about. He played the game. He understands it. And he appreciates goal scoring and people that have skill. But he knows. It's like Scott Arniel. It's like Rick Bowness. Like these coaches that get it, that say, you know what? You could be a great player in this league and not play any defense, and you can get your 80 points or get your 40 goals and blah, 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 but you won't win squat, and you'll only make the playoffs 1 out of every 4 years and get knocked out in the first round. Is that what you want for a career? Okay, fine. I don't want you on my team. Or you could say, you know what? You could score 100 points the way you're playing now, or you can score 80 plus, depending upon how things go, but play the right way. And I can tell you, by you buying in along with everybody else, we're going to win more games than we lose. We're going to be a good team.
You didn't sacrifice a little bit of offense because your team defense is going to make up.
Correct, because you're playing the right way. And guys have to buy into that. Scheifele and Connor, Velarde, Morrissey, Pionk, you go down the list, those guys, they had to buy into that. Ehlers did, I mean, when he was still here. So all those things. And that's why the Jets are a better team now. Yeah, they're on a 3-game losing streak, but it's not like they were creamed or they gave away all these defensive liability opportunities to the opposition. They're not Toronto. Toronto's a completely different thing, even though Toronto's lost 3 in a row. But Winnipeg's 3 losses, 2 out of 3, like you said, it's a 1-goal game to late. They're missing, you could argue, their best defensive defenseman who kills a ton of penalties and is out there all the time against the team's first or second line in Dylan Samberg, right? And you're missing Perfetti. Now he just finally comes back. So, and you're right. And then there's mumbo jumbo on the offensive side on the forwards. So I'm just saying that the Jets are still in a pretty good position, but they're not the Leafs. I mean, the Leafs are something else because they haven't bought in. The Jets have bought in, but they've struggled because of injuries, and they're trying to figure out. I agree with you. They got to figure out how they're going to get offense from the second, third, and fourth line, because you can't. I mean, yes, Scheifele and Connor and Velarde are going to score points, but when they're off, if they have an off night, maybe Velarde and Connor don't sleep well, and Scheifele's thinking about his girlfriend, right? And maybe they had an argument. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there, whatever it is, and they have an off night. Well, some lines, even the great lines, are going to have off nights, and that's where you need somebody else to step up. And so far, there hasn't been enough stepping up of the Taves line or Lowry's line or Ford's line, like the second, third, or fourth line. And they got to find a way to get more scoring. They just have to. And I don't know how you do that. To me, if you're going to figure out how to get out of it, you don't change the system. You keep the lines together. You keep working. You keep practicing. You keep going. You stay in the structure because, like you said, it's eventually going to turn around. Eventually, structure will win over freelance, right? In terms of especially playing defense, right? Like, I'd rather lose a game 2-1 late than lose a game
8-1, but you had no chance.
Yeah, or lose a game 7-5 or 7-4 where you scored 4 goals, but you were a complete tire fire in your own end, right? Like, to me, that's way more frustrating to watch as a fan, right? So yes, they lost 3 in a row, but it is what it is. They played 3 really good teams, especially that are playing right now really well and play really well at home. So there you go.
The other team I wanted to touch on quickly, and you probably know where this is going, is the New York Rangers. Their home to road splits are quite bizarre. Good road team, terrible home team.
Yeah.
Near the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and that is not where we were led to believe the New York Rangers would be.
Yeah, and can anybody figure that out?
Nope.
It is the strangest thing in the world. Like, it literally is the strange, and it must be making Mike Sullivan's hair go even grayer. I mean, he's a great coach. He's not a dum-dum, but why is that? Why? Like, you're right. They're 0-6-1. I'm just looking at 0-6-1 at home and 7-1-1 on the road.
Bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's almost like it could be the opposite, right? But I mean, with a road record like that, all you got to win is 500 of your home games and you're in first place, right? Like, you had 3 more wins and suddenly you're at 22 points and you're tied for first place with Carolina. So I know it's still early in the season. Everybody's played about 15 games. So you've played, what is that? A little bit more than 1/5 of the games.
Yep.
Right. Not a little bit. Yeah. 5, because 20% would be 75 games. So it's whatever. You played about 22% of the season, maybe, whatever it is. So it's not crazy. It's not the end of the world. Teams just trying to figure it out. But I agree with you. Maybe to wrap up our talk about the Jets and then about the Rangers too, and about Toronto, is I would just think that the coaches, and you hear them talking about, Sullivan said structure. I heard him use that word several times. I heard Scott Arniel say it the other night in his pregame, and I heard Craig Berube say the same thing. As soon as you say, I don't believe in the structure and I'm not going to play in it, then the whole card or the house of cards falls, right? So you got to have everybody committed, pulling in the same direction, playing the same way, even if you have 2 or 3 games in a row that you lose. If you're playing the right way, you will still lose games, right? As you know, you will still lose games. So it's like the Jets, bad call. They get the early goal, gets reversed. Then LA scores a goal. LA plays so good defensively at home. They play that trapping style, and they just can't generate any more. But they're in the game all the way to the end, right? So, but don't give up on the structure. Keep going with the structure. And eventually that structure and the defensive focus will turn into offense. It will. Maybe not right away in late October, early November, but as you get into December and then, the dog days of winter in the new year, January, February, I think you're going to win more games than not, right? Playing that way. So,
for the record, I still think the Jets are a playoff team.
Yeah, I do too. Did you select them as a playoff team at the beginning of the year?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I did. I know. I'm pretty sure I picked them as
third. I had them as third.
I picked them as third. No, you picked them as third. Actually, we both did. We both picked them as third in the Central. So, yeah. So it's still
pretty much right on schedule with our predictions.
Yeah. So all good.
For that one anyway.
All good. Yeah, but hey, can we talk about do you know anything? Did I hear right in Toronto? Because we're talking about Toronto.
Yeah.
Is there something going on between the goalies? I heard something like, did you hear anything about this? Like, or maybe you could look it up where we're talking, or I don't know, look it up, but that Woll and Stollards literally hate each other. Like they can't stand, like, you know how it is, like how Comrie and Hellebuck, they're each other's cheerleaders, right? And biggest fans, and Comrie knows his role and Hellebuck knows his role, and they like each other. They learn from each other, right? It's just a really healthy friendship, teammates, everything, regardless of who plays, right? I've heard Woll and Stollards can't stand each other. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that rumor. Is that right? Have you heard anything on that?
I'm not. I'm just looking up an article. An article that was written yesterday. It said the Maple Leafs officially have a goaltending problem, but it's not of any substantive information about that. But
okay,
it just makes you wonder. But with goaltending problems aside, like, I don't know if there's a goaltender that could play in that structure the way the Leafs are playing right now defensively.
Yeah, you're right. Because if you threw Hellebuck in there, he's still going to give up goals. I mean, if you give that many,
maybe not as many, but still, I don't know. It's interesting. But I think it's also a scenario of Anthony Stolarz had to step away from the team for reasons that we're never going to know, and he's recently come back. Joseph Woll, to me, had a chance to take the net. He never did. Picked the opportunity and run with it, and Caden Primo was just lost on waivers to Carolina. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, yes, Stolarz has gotten the Leafs to where they are, but to me, this issue is bigger than goaltending. And to be honest, I don't believe it's as simple as getting Chris Tanev back either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, I think you did have the same discussion about the Edmonton Oilers, but we're having about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
The Oilers goaltending is horrific.
Yes, but I would put it back to your point earlier about no matter who you put in there, including Hellebuck or Bobrovsky or Vasilevsky. I just think because they are not committed as a team to play within that structure, because they're not, or they haven't committed to that and they haven't manifested it. it shows. And that's the problem. Like the Jets, they even admitted, I think it was Morrissey, they give little word clues, if you will, right? That kind of
Yep.
lets you know what's going on. And he didn't throw anybody under the bus because he's too classy. Josh Morrissey would never say that. I think
He's not
Scheifele
gonna
said
tap
something
into.
similar. Yeah. But they basically said, we needed, like when Rick Bowness came in, they talked to him in the offseason. He was hired after that was the end of Adam or Dave Lowry's role or time as interim. And Bowness got hired. He called all these guys. I think that might have been the summer that Josh Morrissey got married. So they were all together. They were all at this wedding. He introduced himself and he said, do you guys want to win? Like, do you want to get to the next level? And Josh Morrissey, to him, they all said, we want to take the next step and we want to be held accountable. We want to grow as a team. This is our time. We want to do whatever it takes to get to that next level. And then he said, well, then you have to put stats and concerns about stats behind you. And you have to focus on team structure and playing the right way in your own zone first, moving forward. And by doing that, you will create offense and you will still score and whatever. But he said, but the key was, and Morrissey echoed it, is that you've got to get commitment completely. So that's why he went to Morrissey, Lowry, and Scheifele, and sort of the leaders of the team, the guys that had been there a while, and said, I need you to help me sell this to everybody else, that everybody's on buy-in. Because if you got 19 guys dressed, or you got 20 guys dressed, and one guy is not buying in, it won't work. You got to have everybody pulling on the rope the same way for, to use a really old, cheesy analogy, but it's so true. And Morrissey said, as soon as everybody bought in, that's when it changed. And it's been like that now. They have every team loses, because you're going against another team that has their structure and they're pushing against you. But in general, the Jets have been a way better team the last 4 years since the start of Rick Bowness's time, all because of that commitment as a core group of guys. Do you see that the same? Like, have you heard that, or do you recall that?
Yeah, no, I recall. Excuse me. I think it was the first year that Bowness was coach. They had that playoff series against the Vegas Golden Knights, and the night they got eliminated. What sticks out to me is the scorched earth comment that he made right after they were eliminated about disrespecting the game. They weren't ready to play. Our system let us down. We can't be playing like this. And I'm paraphrasing. And it was the next year where we saw tangible change because everybody said, I remember vividly that I was listening to it and they came out of it, and I don't know who was on the air at the time. They said, oh boy, this doesn't look good for, the futures of Scheifele and Hellebuyck and blah, 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 blah. Like, because they literally got thrown under the bus, all that kind of stuff. And it was that next offseason where those heart-to-heart conversations happened with the coaches and the leadership, and to get everybody sort of on the same wavelength. And then that was the start of success.
Yep.
And we've had that ever since. And I do not believe that has left despite Rick Bowness not being with his team anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's very different. And so all that say, maybe wrap up that point is that's why I don't have the concerns with the Jets that I do with the Leafs. And not that I'm concerned with the Leafs, but the Leafs haven't bought into structure. I mean, Craig Berube doesn't come right out and say it, but that's what he's saying in sort of a roundabout. I mean, he's called his team out, but he hasn't completely thrown them under the bus, and he hasn't named names, and he's not going to single out individual players. But on the other hand, with the Jets, they've got some injuries. They're on the road. They play against 3 tough teams. They're in 2 of the 3 games. One game goes sideways because they're up. Then the goal is called back. Like there was a lot of things that happened, but that did not affect, the structure. And they still believe in that, and they still play that way pretty consistently across the board. So for me, it's just like, to your point, it's 3 games. and they could play the next 3 games, continue on with their structure, and find success in Vancouver, and Seattle and the Calgary over the next 6 nights or whatever it is. So,
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Which team are you the most concerned about?
Overall?
Yeah, in the 32 team lead.
That's a good question. You know, I am shocked at, well, I say shocked is not the right word. Like nobody's really fallen completely off, the deep end. Maybe Calgary and St. Louis, you could say, are really like way below 500. Other teams are just fluttering around 500 or just
Well,
below.
thank you for the overtime point. That makes teams records look better than they are.
Yeah, exactly. Because you always like people don't realize, like they say, oh, look at, I'm just saying, for example, look at LA. They're after 16 games, like they're 7-5-4. Okay. Well, in the old days, they would be 7-9 because a loss is a lot, right? Like you get a point for a loss, but it's still a loss, right? So in theory, any team being 7.
That's why the Jets record at 9-6 looks a little better than it is.
Correct. They are 3 games above 500. LA is not 2 games above 500 with 4 overtime losses. Yeah,
but you're really 2 games under.
7-9, 5 losses in regulation, 4 losses in overtime or shootout. So it's all that. Yeah, but all that to say is teams like right now Calgary and St. Louis. But to be honest with you, I am just shocked at Edmonton. Like they have so much firepower, they have so much capability. They've added players this year. Some nights they look just amazing, and then other nights they just look like they can't play well, like or they just don't play well enough as a team to win. And I can't figure it out. It's very strange because exactly to your point, like which team is going to show up? That's, I mean, if I was an Edmonton fan and I bought a ticket to that game on Saturday night, 9-1, I'm not sure I would have stuck around until the end of that game. Maybe you just do it because you want to enjoy a hot dog, or you just say, I bought the ticket. I don't want to throw the rest of it away, right? So,
but at some point, like you have to realize, but it's just not happening.
Yeah, but Edmonton's got good play. Like they play so good one night, and then just play so meh.
That's the definition of a 500 team that doesn't know what they're doing right now.
Well, they're actually below 500 because I think the Oilers are 6-6-4. I think, and if you're 6-6-4, just let me look. If you're 6-6-10, pardon?
You're 6-10.
You're 6. You're 6-10. That's exactly what you are. And there's no lying when you look at your -10 in goal differential, your overall in the league, the one of the worst teams. Like, well, okay, no, they're not that bad. Like, there's other teams that are worse shaped than them, but Columbus, St. Louis, Nashville again. Like, I thought Nashville would figure it out this year. Last year was the big year of transition going to Stamkos and Marcia Show and Sky, whatever that, or Shea, the defenseman.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is the year. And they're just off to another plodding start. They are 5-12 in their first 17 and -15 in goal differential. So to me, I mean, how long does that last? Like Barry Trotz, he's going to be in, I don't know, like, is he in trouble to hang on to his job as general manager? I mean, he was a great coach, but man alive, what are you going to do? You're going to sign all those free agents and now say 2 years later, 3 years later, it was a big mistake. Let's do a reset.
Well, ask everybody how that went in Minnesota.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you're not even close to the playoff marker, in February or even January, come the new year, if you don't win like 10 out of your next 15 or 12 out of your next 16 or 15, whatever it is, you got to dump salaries and you got to restart. So are you going to get rid of Stamkos and Marcia Show and Shea? Like,
and who would take those contracts on?
Well, that thing, and then you're going to eat half of it. Now it's going to hit your salary cap because now you got to go find other new players. Like that's the problem. If you throw in the towel on this thing, I think in a lot of ways, especially if you got to eat salary cap or you got to hold some of it, if you move these guys out, you're going to have to go with younger players. You're going to have to go on a whole bunch of guys on entry level contracts in order to work with that,
It's
which may not be a
shocking.
bad thing, just like the Jets were, right? Like 7-8 years ago or 9 years ago, whatever it was.
It's shocking, Rick. Nashville used to be a draft and develop organization. All of their success came because of draft and develop model.
Yeah, well,
that seems to have gone by the wayside, and now they've gone to trying to buy free agents, and so far it's kind of been that way. St. Louis to me is a big surprise. They were 1 second away from beating the Jets in the first round last year, and now they're probably out of it.
Yeah, they're in really rough shape. They had some injuries though too. And guys like Jordan Kyrou, he's a healthy scratch. I mean, he was one of their young up and coming players the last few years. Last year had sort of an off year, but the year before in 2023, 2024 had a fantastic year. I think scored 35, 40 goals, had 80 or 100 points, whatever it was. And he's just fallen off the deep end. He was a healthy scratch the last game. Now, maybe that was because he wasn't playing good and they had to sit him in order to send a message, but not good. Like they're 5-8-3. So they are 6 games below 500 in terms of wins and losses, either overtime or regulation. So yeah, I think, are they the worst team in the league? Oh no, Calgary's the worst. Calgary and then St. Louis as of right now, but not everybody's played the same amount of games. But so yeah, that's really surprising to me. Washington is really surprising that they've struggled out of the gate because they got, in essence, the same team they had last year. The only thing is they're a year older, right? But that one has surprised me a little bit. But
here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's the first coach to get fired mid-season?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. You have to think that's coming.
Yeah. See, I don't think the Sabres are going to fire Lindy Ruff because they just hired him last year and they've had a ton of injuries. They got guys out. Rasmus Dahlin is back in Sweden with his fiance who had open heart surgery, right? Like they've had just a lot of challenges. Florida's had a ton of injuries. I don't think they're going to fire Paul Maurice after winning 2 cups in a row.
Yeah.
I don't think Toronto's going to fire Craig Berube because Craig Berube's not the problem. He's only been here a year and a half. It's not on him.
I don't think Calgary fires Huska either.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think Washington fires their coach because he had such a great year last year. Mike Sullivan just got hired.
Coach of the year, James.
Huh?
The coach of the year, James. It's real.
Yeah. St. Louis, this Nashville are gonna maybe Trotz. Maybe Trotz before he starts trading guys because he needs a scapegoat, right? That's what it is. The GM never fires himself; he fires his head coach. So maybe Trotz fires. I don't know who's the head coach in Nashville.
I have to look it up. It's not Brunette.
No, it's. Oh no, is it maybe? Yeah, it's Brunette, isn't it?
Hang on.
It is. Look it up. I'm pretty sure it's Brunette, who used to coach the Panthers after Quenneville there. So, but anyway, I think a guy like Trotz is going to fire his head coach because he wants the heat to come.
You're right. It is not. It is Brunette.
Yeah. So he's going to fire his coach before he's going to let the heat fall on him. But that only buys you 6 months, maybe a year, depending upon what kind of a relationship you have with the owner and with, the president of hockey operations. So I don't know. I could see Nashville. That for me would be my pick out of all these teams. I don't see them firing Knobloch in Edmonton. I don't see them firing Foote in Vancouver because he's new. Edmonton, they got to the Stanley Cup Finals the last 2 years, right? I don't
Columbus? Columbus?
Maybe, yeah. I was just going to say, I don't see them firing Flames or Huska because they've committed to him and they know their team is not that great, right? So Columbus, yeah, maybe. Well, Columbus is 500 though. Like they're not below 500 because they haven't played. They've played, the least amount of games.
You know what? You know what all of this says to me, Red?
What's that?
prayers to all those NHL trade deadline shows. Because there's not going to be anything happening if so many teams are within a point of the playoffs. Because they've been, we're 1 5-game winning streak away from getting in.
Well, to your point, like I just look at the schedule and look at, like, for example, the Bruins. They were 4-7 2 weeks ago. They've won 6 in a row.
Yeah.
And are now 10-7. They moved from third worst in the Atlantic to now second place.
Makes you blow your mind sometimes.
Yeah, because it's still early, right? There could be these big changes. So that's what I'm saying. To your point, like Jets won a whole bunch of games in a row, but any one team, you win 5-6 games in a row. Most teams around you are going to go 500 or whatever. You're going to move at this time of the year because the points haven't been all banked yet. Yep. If you get a 5-10 game win streak in a row, that sets you up for the whole year. Like that literally puts you into a playoff spot. Now you're into American Thanksgiving. And then the rest of the year, if you play around 500 or let's say 550 hockey, 575 hockey the rest of the way, you hang on to your playoff position. So,
yeah. Anyway, what do you think the Jets do this week as we wrap it up?
Well, are we going to say what one of our loyal listeners there, Rob, said last time and say the Jets are going to go 3-0? I mean, I feel bad for Rob. Like he went 0-4 last week. He said 3-0 and the Jets went 0-3. So not good. I sat on the fence and said 1-1-1. What did you say? I think you said 2-1, right?
2-1, yeah.
Or 2-0-1, maybe. I think you said so. But anyway, so the Jets, until our next show, they play at Vancouver, at Seattle, at Calgary. All 9:00 games, by the way, Winnipeg hockey fans.
I'm set to be 9:00 games. I got
to change my whole lifestyle. It's like I live in the West Coast or something. It's just like those are hard nights. You stay up till midnight to get up the next day at 6:37.
The baseball playoffs did enough to me.
I know.
Now you subject me to a 6-game Winnipeg Jets Western road trip. Come on.
I know. Crazy. Okay. So why don't we say, because they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, they go every second night now, and then they have a Sunday, Monday off before coming back home and playing 3 games. Yeah, they probably get Sunday as their off day for the week, right? Because each team has to have at least one off day every 7 days. So that's probably their off day. So, okay. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, Vancouver's not playing well. They are saddled with injuries. They're like a floating wreck. Seattle's playing pretty good, hot and cold, but and Calgary has just been not good either.
2-1.
I think they're. See, I think they could go 3-0. The only struggle I think they might have is in Seattle. They could lose in overtime. I'm going to go 2-0-1. How about you?
I'm going 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
The Jets historically do not lose in overtime.
Correct.
If they did, though. But that's another fact for another day. Anyway, thank you for everybody for making this possible. We are back next week, likely on Tuesday. Actually, we will be back on Tuesday next week. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the hockey. Go Jets, go. And we will talk to you next week. Hopefully, I get a chance to actually watch some more Jets games than I have this week. But busy life gets in the way. I enjoyed the Grey Cup anyway. If you are going in the Winnipeg area, that's going to take over town starting Thursday. So
please, and if you're a Bomber fan, can I just say this? If you're a Bomber fan, don't get this crazy ideas. Like people say, oh, you got to cheer for the team in the West because we're a West team and you have to represent the West. So I'm going to cheer for the Riders because they're the West team. That's crazy talk. Don't talk like that. Either say I'm going to enjoy the game for what it is or cheer for Montreal because
I don't have to be stressed for the first time in 5 years because my football team's not in it.
Cheer for Montreal and enjoy the game. Do not cheer for Saskatchewan. Please. I got people in my own life here living in Manitoba. They're wearing, I'm wearing Rider green all week. I'm wearing it to this thing. Rick, I'm going to see you on Thursday at this thing. I'm wearing my Riders hoodie. Please don't. I tell them, please don't. I'll have to put on the dark sunglasses and walk around with a cane. like a blind man.
Spoiler alert, Rick. The Riders shouldn't even be here. That was not a touchdown with 3 seconds left. The ball hit the ground.
I'm making a prediction. I think Montreal's going to win. So
I didn't roll them over. I really do.
well, I don't roll them over, but I think Montreal's going to win. That Alexander kid is something else. So
yeah,
it's
we'll
nice
see
to
how his grind goes. But
yeah, but it's
on
nice to
NBC
see a
as a
young.
backup.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's nice to see a young quarterback like Rourke in BC and like some of the other guys, some younger superstars coming up. I mean, we always say, where's the next generation of young quarterbacks
Well, they can't
going to
get
come
into the
from,
Grey
right?
Cup.
Yeah, so good on Alexander. Yeah, he's a good football player. So, all right.
Be interesting.
Have a
All
good
right.
week.
Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Bye for
Okay.
now.